What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers prepare for week 3 against the New England Patriots, but there is a trade that could be available that might fix maybe all of their problems somehow, and it's even better when you call them big sexy. We're diving into that. It's Thursday, which means bold predictions, and we'll answer all your questions as we do every single day. It's a good one here in the Berg. Jacob's got the money bank behind him, which means maybe the Steelers are paying. How you feel, my friend?
I am. I'm feeling good, feeling like maybe there is some money in the bank to be spent, as if there hasn't been enough spent already this year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But for any of my fellow WWE fans, you know that if I am in possession of this money in the bank briefcase behind me, a championship opportunity awaits me at my choosing. So just be on the lookout. Just be on the lookout. I'm feeling good, buddy, as always.
That's good. I'm glad. I'm very glad the Pittsburgh Steelers are feeling good as well. Talked to a bunch of guys today from, you could go Arthur Smith, Terrell Austin, who both say things are going to be fixed. They're fine. No big worries. And then Jabril Peppers, who was, he had a good little smirk on his face when asked, does this game mean a little something extra to you? Yeah, it does. That's always very exciting. Still waiting to see how much he's going to play this week. I expect to be quite a bit. I also kind of get the hunch, and it's early, but I get the hunch that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they may be calling up an inside linebacker from the New England Patriots as well by Sunday to say, you know what, just in case we need him, you're going to be available as well. Revenge is on the table. I'm super excited for it, but it's only Thursday, and we'll talk the news of the day, which is Dexter Lawrence. The Pittsburgh Steelers are one of many teams that have run issues right now. The Steelers are significant, and people are pointing at a lot of places. Peyton Wilson, Patrick Queen, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt running away from TJ Watt. The Steelers' corners, their inability to stop the pass, which means that the run opens up. Keanu Benton. That's the biggest one that anybody's mentioned. It's the most consistent one that anybody's mentioned. And the Pittsburgh Steelers desperately need a real nose tackle. Well, you want to know where they might be able to go find one? New York, because the Giants, while maybe having little intentions to trade him right now, and I believe 2-0 for the season, 1-1 maybe. I believe they're 1-1 on the season. Could eventually hit a point where they're saying it's time to jump ship because one of our members is ready to go. According to ESPN's Jordan Renan, I apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly, the 27-year-old is unhappy and looking for a change of scenery with the New York Giants, which means he may be available. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that has spent some more this offseason, could line up to say we are the team ready to make a move. Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, getting rid of Minka, Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf. You spent a first-round pick on a defensive tackle, and you're hoping that he's going to play well. Darius Slay. Can Dexter Lawrence be the next name for the Pittsburgh Steelers? When you saw it, what were your thoughts? Because I won't lie to you, the first thing I thought was, the Steelers got to make a phone call. And do you think that the Steelers should be making a phone call to the New York Giants?
Yes, unequivocally 100% yes. This all-in mentality, this mantra has not changed. As you mentioned, the coordinators for the Pittsburgh Steelers are not abandoning ship or not expressing any panic. They're just saying this stuff is going to work, which is great. I understand the need to kind of push forward and have patience. But what I also think is really, really, really relevant right now is that I don't think a lot of schematic changes are going to happen between week 3 and week 17. I think the best way to address some of these issues might be to just go ahead and get the personnel that is best equipped to handle these things. And the Steelers have no pushback against the run. As we've talked
No.
about the past days, the defensive line has been getting downright bullied. The inside linebackers have looked just as poor in consequence. Adding someone like Dexter Lawrence, you're talking about a guy who just consumes offensive linemen. You're talking about someone who would be an ideal fit in this Mike Tomlin 3-4 defense, someone who you put into the middle. He's not really a quote unquote nose tackle, but the man's 6'4, 6'5, 340, 350. Like, he's going to
Yeah.
occupy teams, he's going to fill the A gap. And more importantly, it allows you to put someone like Keanu Benton on an end position, which is where his skill set is way more suited for, way better at executing that run defense. And then all of a sudden, my hope would be that having someone who is well equipped on the middle of the defensive line is able to sort
Yes.
of make up the difference. Because I don't think this is going to be a change from Terrell Austin being, oh, we finally figured out how to use the right coverage scheme here against Drake May, or I don't think they're going to move away from being the 41% of the time they ran man cover defense in the first 2 weeks. That's most in the NFL. I don't think that's going to change even when circumstances dictate it. So I think the answer might just be address it through adding personnel. It's another big money contract. It's another huge addition. But if you're Omar Khan, if I'm Omar Khan, I've already called the New York Giants and at least started this conversation, because why the hell not?
But that's what I'm saying. What are you holding back on? Are you looking at it going, I don't know, man, we've already made too many big trades, we should probably stop now? No, that pushes you further. Like, you've gone so deep into this. At this point, it's an all or nothing mentality. The Pittsburgh Steelers can't say, well, you know what I mean? At some point, we got to draw a line. No, the line left with Jalen Ramsey. That's when the line went away. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers. You could open the line for Aaron Rodgers and say, okay, look, he's a 41-year-old quarterback. You didn't spend a boatload of money on him. It's really not like that big of a deal. The second that you traded Minka for Jalen and Jonnu and said, we are officially the team that is ready to make a Super Bowl run, you blew the line completely apart. You said, this is no longer here. We are willing to do whatever it takes to make ourselves competitive at the highest level. Okay, great. You now have one glaring hole. That one glaring hole is nose tackle and running the football. You're not replacing Patrick Queen. You're not replacing Peyton Wilson. And even if you are, you're going to replace him with Juwan Bentley or Cole Holcomb before you go out and get an inside linebacker, unless Fred Warner becomes available. And if Fred Warner does become available, we're having the conversation of if the Pittsburgh Steelers should trade for him, because the answer is probably yes. Like, that's what it is. Right now, that's where we're at. This isn't a nobody. This isn't a like just below average or maybe just above average. This isn't the third guy on some random team. No, this is a guy that 1 year ago was voted the best defensive tackle in the NFL, who at 27 years old had 9 sacks playing nose tackle, who Mike Tomlin calls a dancing bear because of how big he is, and who is insanely good at his job at both getting to the pass and getting to the run. And that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers need. And I get, like, I like the idea of playing Y Blackmore in the middle. I like the idea of playing more Daniel Ikuwale. You want to know what I like more than both of those things? Dexter Lawrence. And it's not even remotely close. The Steelers should call for Dexter Lawrence. They should be very comfortable with Dexter Lawrence. They can afford Dexter Lawrence's contract, which is the biggest thing here. This is not Tyreek Hill for $52 million. This is a guy that you could go out and afford today, and everything will be just fine. And I'm going to be like, he's going to cost a lot of money, and he's going to cost a lot of draft capital. But I'm okay with giving both of those things up for an all-in season this year to say, oh, this guy could be the difference maker in the middle, because that's what these types of guys are pretty instantly. What would you give up for a Dexter Lawrence? You're on the phone. You're Omar Khan. Hey, is Dexter available? Yeah, for the right price. What's your offer?
What's my immediate offer, or what is the offer that I ultimately settle on and feel okay with pulling the trigger on?
Give me both. What are you tossing first, and what are you ending on?
Well, I mean, as maybe some have come to expect from my armchair GMing, you lowball to start, of course. You come in there with like a third round pick. You're like, yeah, I want this guy off your team, right? Let us take care of it for you. We're doing you a favor. They inevitably will say no. I think you have to realistically this conversation doesn't start for the New York Giants unless the first round pick is involved or unless some sort of monster player is involved going back because the let's be honest, and I did look this up while you were talking a couple minutes ago. Giants are 0-2 to start the year, which I think is probably a huge
Yeah.
factor in why Dexter Lawrence is so frustrated right now. And so we've seen a lot. I'm dueling with this idea of, is this an actual search to be traded? Is this another one of those contractual negotiation things, or just sort of like an anchoring point for something in the future for Dexter Lawrence? I'm not really sure how verifiably real it is that the Steelers or that the Giants could be interested in moving Dexter Lawrence. All
Yeah.
of that aside, I think a first round pick is probably what would actually move the needle for the New York Giants, or I think giving them a player that they feel is someone that can help them immediately. You know, if they needed someone like I can't even like name a position of need for the Giants offhand, not very familiar with the roster, but if there was a roster player that worked plus a third round pick, great. But I think besides that, you're trying to get basically their best defensive player, which I think would come with a heavy price tag.
I agree. And I think there's an argument to be made to give it up. I think there's an argument to be made. I'll ask you this question because this goes into it, and this is the only part of it that we'll have to address, because that's what it comes down to. If there was no need for a quarterback in 2026, if the Steelers' plan wasn't clear as day that they were most likely going to trade up to go get John Mater or anybody else, then there is no conversation. Like, there's no like, oh, you got to keep it. No, you trade it. Who cares? Do you think you could move it? Do you think you could potentially move that first round pick and still find your way to a first round quarterback that is worth it in 2026? Do you think that you could come up and package enough of those 12 picks plus the future?
No, that's where you lose me, and I think that's where this sort of this hypothetical world we're in right now sort of begins to break down, because it's just going to be such an uphill climb. And I will also,
Yeah.
in the same mindset I have today of like two dueling thoughts, like the last week of college football didn't necessarily overly impress me with the 2026 quarterback
No.
prospects. I wasn't blown away. Didn't feel like anyone, became the de facto number one pick. So like there's this creeping up into my head of like, maybe the 2026 class isn't the savior class that it's been made out to be so far. Time's out on that. But we
Yeah.
can get back to that on a later date. I think more than anything, if the Steelers want to get that franchise quarterback in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft, they have to keep all of their assets on the table and they have to keep hold of them. And I think Omar Khan knows that. So, as nice as it would be to add a Dexter Lawrence and really feel like you have a legitimate guy in the middle of the defensive line, the goal is to get a franchise quarterback and to move this franchise forward beyond 2026. And I think that you can't really disrupt that plan just to find a temporary solution or to find a solution that feels good in the moment. But really, there's so many larger questions that still need to be answered moving forward. So I don't think you can do that.
I don't think so either. Let's start. I don't think so either. I still think the Steelers would call. I still think there are routes. I still think there are alternative routes. Do I think that these alternative routes are as easy as saying, oh, you give up a first round pick for him and it's a breeze? No. But do I think that 2 years ago I was saying I'd give up a second round pick for Justin Fields and he went for sixth? Then, yeah, I think that sometimes I'm maybe a little bit overzealous when it comes to what I think trades are. And I think that if Omar Khan called and started tossing people out there, again, you traded Minka Fitzpatrick. In my head, Keanu Benton is on the table. In my head, that's an option to say, let's start packaging things to make sure that you get some and we get some and everything's okay. And again, like that's like, you can never predict player trades. ever. Like, you can never sit around and say, oh, the Steelers are going to trade this guy for this guy. You could say things like they called for DK Metcalf. That means that there's a chance they land DK Metcalf. They called for Jalen Ramsey. That means there's a chance they're going to land Jalen Ramsey. But it's impossible to know what the Steelers view Keanu Benton as further than this season, or Alex Highsmith as 2 years from now, or whoever. We just don't know those things. I would give up Keanu Benton, and I like Keanu Benton as a player. I would give up Keanu Benton. I would give up a second-round pick, and I'd feel pretty okay about that situation. And I don't think that hurts you in the long run. I still think you could get up to pick 10, pick 7 once you start adding more. But the Chiefs moved from 24, I believe, 25 maybe, to 10 for Patrick Mahomes. They gave up 2 first-round picks, their first round this year and their first round the next year. And I think the Steelers could do the same, add more to get up to like 7 if need be. And I think that you can make that move. My offer to them would be Keanu and a second. That's where I'd max it out, unless it was like, oh, and a 6th. Yeah, okay. Again, you can never predict that happening. But if I'm Omar, I think that's where I'd go there with that. I think that's where I'd settle.
If that is where they could land it, or if that is the upper limit that Omar Khan is willing to go, then I don't think you sacrifice the future like at all, or like the plans to land whatever that franchise player is in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft. Like, a second round pick will be used to move up, right? But you can also supplement that with like a future second round pick, or you can make up the difference somewhere else. Losing out on a second round pick wouldn't really, in my view, wouldn't eliminate the ability to move up. But with the scenario I proposed, they kind of take themselves out of the running for that. So I mean, you use the word overzealous, but I think that might just be kind of the happy medium in this hypothetical situation. I'd be great with that solution.
Yeah, I would be very great with that solution. Again, you can never predict those things. You know what I mean? Once you start tossing players in there, you're like, this is a guess. Everything's a guess, but you could feel way more confident about like, oh, the Steelers would be willing to give up a second round pick for this guy. Yeah, I don't know if the Steelers would be even willing to add Keanu Benton to a conversation. I have no idea if that's a route that they would go down in any way. That being said, if you're all in, you're on the phone and you're seeing what you could do. And if the Giants keep losing and he keeps getting more and more pissed and keeps asking for trades, it becomes more and more likely that he's going to be gone. That's just the business of the NFL. At the end of the day, most guys get what they want when they ask for these things. And I think the Steelers could be in somewhat of the same boat. All right, it's Thursday. We just talked Dexter Lawrence, and we also have questions on him, which I'm very excited to get to after this. But first, let's toss our bold predictions for this ball game out there. I'm going to let you go first. Pittsburgh Steelers, New England Patriots, week 3. Jabril Peppers is fired up. Everybody's cool, calm, and collected. The tush push with Connor Hayward, maybe. Worst idea I've ever heard of in my life. I'll toss it. But it's all right, because I'm going to tease it right now. My bold predictions do include the tush push, and it does not include Connor Hayward, but I got a better one for you. I'll let you kick things off. Toss one of your bold predictions my way, my friend.
All right, man. Here we go. Bold prediction number 1. I'm going to keep it away from the star players for the first one. Jack Sawyer, who recorded his first career NFL sack last week, mostly due to a great play by TJ Watt, I will say, commanding a lot of attention. But nonetheless, Jack Sawyer's seeing more reps, and I think that they were impressed with what he did in that increased usage. My first bold prediction is that Jack Sawyer is going to record at least another sack against the New England Patriots and probably have 2 tackles for loss again.
Wow. I love that.
No,
Can I add to it?
Please. Mm-hmm.
I think at least one of those tackles for loss or the sack is going to come up the middle of the field. I think he's going to line up as just off center, standing up, and I think he gets back there with one of those. And I'm not, you know what I mean? A lot of things could happen. All I'm saying is that Jack Sawyer is a big boy, and they love their 3 outside linebacker sets. New England, hopefully you're not listening to this podcast, but I would add to that. I love that one. I liked what I saw out of Jack Sawyer I think Jack Sawyer took a pretty significant step forward last week from what we saw all summer and really during the preseason. And I think it was the first time I was like, ooh, Jack Sawyer could do this. Like there it is. Like this was the game. It was like things are starting to, he's starting to catch up. I don't think it was going fast for him. I think athletically he didn't know how to use himself yet. Like I think in college he could just beat people, and here I think it was like, okay, I got to figure out how to do this, and I think we got that. So I love that one. I'll toss one your way before I toss it back at you. I'll start with the tush push, my friend. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, bold prediction, are going to break out a tush push in week 3. And while Connor Hayward might be that guy, you want to know who I think's going to do it? I think Ben Skoranek is taking a tush push up the middle for maybe a half a yard. But I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are using a tush push with good old Benny Sko in week 3. That's my bold prediction.
Is this going to be on the goal line?
I don't know. I can't predict those things. All I can predict is Ben Skoranek is going to get this. My bold prediction is Benny Sko is getting a tush push this week against the New England Patriots.
Wow. Hope someone takes a tush push right up the middle. Just put that on the shorts at the top of All Steelers Talk YouTube channel. Incredible. I'd love to see it. The fact that it was even, I know they're asked about it, and that's how it even got, brought up. But
there's been a lot of tush push talk this week. A lot
of tush push conversations. And I think that's, again, this offense did not, they're the tale of two offenses right now. It's not really sure what we're going to get. We're not really sure what we're going to get in week 3 against the New England Patriots. If this gets you 7 points when you need it, if this gets you a first down in a desperate situation, give it to the man. Ben Skoranek saw no offensive action last week. Get the man involved. Ben Skoranek. I love that.
Ben Skoranek. I'm telling you, dude. If I'm putting anybody out there, everybody says Darnell Washington. I think he's too big. I don't think he could get low enough. I love the idea. I'm putting Darnell behind him with Jalen on the other side because Jalen's real tiny, dude. You're getting right underneath the tush there. You're getting a good tush push. And you are. It's the key concept is get the tush, push it. And I think you're getting that with Ben Skoranek's the grittiest guy in Pittsburgh, okay? He's getting a yard. He'd come out of there bloody just to get a yard. I love it. That's mine. All right. I'll toss it back to you. What do you got, my friend?
All righty. We talked about, you mentioned Jabril Peppers as this being a revenge game. There's a forgotten revenge game element here. I'm talking about Jonnu Smith.
True.
Which no one's mentioning that this is also a revenge game for Jonnu Smith. And this narrative must survive and advance week in and week out for me to buy in on a Steelers win.
For sure.
Jonnu Smith is going to have, I'll keep it short and simple, more than 100 all-purpose yards against the New England Patriots. And I have a little bit, the reason I might believe that to be the case is because he is the Steelers' leading receiver through 2 weeks. Not in yards, but in receptions. And I think they're going to feed this man against his former team, and they're going to see what happens when Jonnu Smith is a featured piece of the offense. Bold prediction from Jakey.
First off, Jonnu Smith there was a scrum around Jonnu Smith today, and I was like, why are we talking to Jonnu Smith? Are we just bored? Didn't click at all. That's on me, guys. I apologize. And 2, I can't believe that I said tush push with Ben Skoranek is happening, and my jaw dropped as if that's the craziest thing I've ever heard when you said 100 all-purpose yards for Jonnu Smith. That's nuts, my friend. That's nuts. That being said, you wouldn't be able to count. I watched a Mr. Beast video one time when I was a smaller child. By smaller child, I mean like middle COVID. That it was him counting from 1 to 1,000,000. Took like 6 days for him to do this. It was insane. That's how many times in my head the Pittsburgh Steelers have mentioned Jonnu Smith as wide receiver 2 this offseason. And that gives me hope that they are going to do what they need to do. I love that one. I love that. Jonnu Smith to the moon. I'm all for it. I'm definitely all for it. All right. I'm gonna take it to the defensive side of the football. Feel like, Jack Sawyer, awesome. Then we went offense. Let's go back to defense here. Drake May's a good quarterback. He really is. But I think the Steelers defense is gonna be really. I think week 1 was like, all right, we should play better, but like the Jets are good. I think week 2 was like, I wouldn't be surprised if TJ like broke somebody's face in his pregame, warm up heading into New England because of after week 2. That's how fired up these guys are and pissed off. I'm thinking this is a big one for the defense. My bold prediction is this. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense, I'm not saying that they come alive and hold people to, that was an overreaction. We're going to get to that tomorrow on the score predictions. What I'm saying is this. TJ, Jalen, and Jabril Peppers combine for a total of 4 turnovers against the New England Patriots. That is my bold prediction.
Wow.
The giggle, man. That's just like you're a
Did
clown
that give my
giggle.
Did that give my answer away? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was like that was a terrible bold prediction. That's what
the
that's
game
what
is bold predictions. The game is not mild takes with Noah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not what we're doing right now. And
No.
listen, do I think that's going to happen? No, the giggle gave it away. I apologize. It's not because I think it's not because I don't value what you say. I just would be shocked to see them create 4 turnovers in this game against Drake May.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots have found a nice little way to find security blankets for Drake May through 2 weeks. And I wonder how much this preparation will pay off for them in week 3 against the Steelers. But the Steelers, they're due for they need to look like themselves, quote unquote. This elite defense has not yet appeared in 2025. So a 4 turnover game, a multi-turnover game is certainly how you jumpstart things. So that's a bold prediction. I don't think it's going to happen, but damn, that's bold.
Look at dude. I was the giggle was, it got me. It was like, oh, okay, I suck. I get it. But it's what we're here for. Okay. And I'm keeping belief. And all I'm saying is like there are a lot of upset people in Pittsburgh right now. I'm gonna say that. You know what I mean? It's not a joyous week. Week 1 into week 2 was like we won, dude. Who cares? We're riding high. Our offense just scored 800 points. Nobody cares about how bad the defense was. Week 2, the past 4 days have been like, we suck and we will not suck this season. And it just feels like things are going to be different. I'm excited for our picks tomorrow because I want right now we're both 1-1 and like real bad at one. It's like a scrape and buy 1-1. If you took the spread and everything else, we both look terrible. I want to see if we could get to 2-1, just like the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. With that said, guys, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to start answering all your guys' questions on the other side of this break. Start tossing them in the chat. We will be right back. What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming. You can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbooks, where new customers who bet $5 get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. Then use your bonus bets to stay in on the action and bet on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And don't worry, if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you're fine. You can still join in on all of the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Sign up using my promo code ALLSteelers and get in on the action only at DraftKings Sportsbook. All righty. Shout out our boys over at DraftKings. Shout out to all of our members and our super chatters. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. We're going to start with good old Ham Sandwich. couldn't send this yesterday, but what's more likely? Jack Sawyer, your boy, has more sacks than TJ by the bye week, or Jaylen Warren still leads the Steelers in receiving yards by the bye? Okay, before we answer the what's more likely, what's worse? What is worse for the Steelers if Jack Sawyer is beating TJ Watt in sacks, or if your running back is your leading receiver in receiving yards by the bye week, which is only 2 weeks away? That's, you only got 2 more games.
Right.
But what is worse to have happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Jack Sawyer outpacing TJ Watt in sacks by a country mile. I mean, listen, Jaylen Warren's, he's a multifaceted running back. He can do, he can impact the game in multiple ways, both as a true runner and, catching the ball out of the backfield or however they want to use him. I think it is awful, but way more likely that Jack Sawyer will have more sacks than TJ Watt at the bye week. Because as you point out, there's only 2 more weeks for this to happen. Like there's 2 more games for TJ Watt to pass by the breakout star that is Jack Sawyer and eclipse him in sacks by the bye week. Let's see if this upstart $41 million guy can get the job done and sort of break out. But I think unless TJ Watt, and like this, really it hinges on the entire defense suddenly playing better. And I think to expect that is just way too much. It has to be small steps, incremental. So I could see TJ getting his first sack either this week or next week for sure. I'd be shocked if he gets 2. And then I'd also be shocked if Jack Sawyer doesn't get 1 more, because the same game plans are still popping up against the Steelers defense with success. So until the Steelers change that, they're going to keep probably getting beat the same way.
I'm going to go the other way around. I think it's more likely that it's worse that TJ doesn't have more sacks. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go, what's more likely is that Jaylen leads the Steelers, just because Jaylen could have 60 receiving yards a game, off like 3 catches, 2 catches, sometimes 1. At some point, and I could be wrong, but like if I'm putting my money on anything, it's that TJ Watt at some point is going to do something. At some point, some dumb coach is going to make some dumb decision to let that man sit on an island a whole game and reap the benefits, at some point. And maybe it's this week. Maybe it's in Dublin. Maybe it's a backup quarterback in Minnesota that I don't even know the name of yet, that is going to forget that TJ's there and not understand how scary of a situation that is. I don't have any idea. What I do know is that I'd put my money on TJ to have this, but I agree with you. If it's the other way around, it's dangerous. It is dangerous. If we go into the bye week, TJ does not lead this team in sacks, there are some serious conversations to be had about TJ Watt and Mike Tomlin and this defense as a whole. And I think any conversation of a Super Bowl is gone until TJ turns it around. I think that's at the end of the day, I think you don't have that guy. You don't do things in big moments. So I agree with you. That's way scarier, way worse for the Steelers. I like that we split that one. Lord knows 36 Lawrence at the right price. Wilkins, even though he might be a little touchy, but none of it matters if we have pieces but can't put the puzzle together. There's been a couple of people out here saying Christian Wilkins is a maybe as well. Like maybe the Steelers should invest in a Christian Wilkins. I have no idea what happened with Christian Wilkins. I have zero clue. Didn't even look into it. So that's on me. I guess I should have done that. I didn't think I would have to. There's something happened if you are pretty much shunned from the league. This is not it went way too smoothly, way too quietly. Like it was like Christian Wilkins, some weird things happened. And within 24 hours, he was just the forgotten great defensive tackle of the NFL. Like it was the NFL. They're the mafia, dude. If they need it to go away, they will make it go away. And I don't know what happened, but I don't think the Steelers would touch him. I think that they'd stay as far away from Christian Wilkins as possible. unless maybe you feel different. I also don't think you need Christian Wilkins. I think Dexter Lawrence is fine as soon as Derek Harmon comes back. I think all you need is one. I think if Dexter Lawrence would be the guy, put him in the nose, and I'd feel very okay about the Steelers defense.
I will repeat again, having Dexter Lawrence as the nose tackle in the Steelers defense would just be an epic upgrade, and I think people would be overwhelmingly confident in the defense at that point. But the Christian Wilkins stuff, I don't know much about what transpired. Not easy to find information about it. We'll reserve a lot of judgment about the rumors and speculation that have gone around. But what I will say about what I know about him as a football player is, he's traditionally a 4-3 defensive tackle. So like that puts him in a situation that to me is very similar to like a Keanu Benton, where you're like,
Yes.
okay, he might find success, lining up on the interior, but like he's probably better suited going against the tackles. So the offensive tackles, I should clarify. So, he's not the best fit for what the Steelers are in need of and lacking so far. But it is kind of wild that, someone who was one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL last year suddenly no team is touching him with a 40-foot pole. So very interesting, very weird.
Very weird. Papaya salad. Steelers never win in Foxborough. Bet accordingly. Does your mind change on that if they're like the Steelers stink right now? So like our trap game's a real thing. Like does your mind if they were 2-0 and they look good, I'd sit here and be like, you're not wrong, dude. Like you know what I mean? Cautious. But this is not a Steelers team that, like I bet you, I don't know what the spread is. We're going to wait for tomorrow, but I bet you it's closer than you'd think it'd be. Like, does your mind change on the whole, like Steelers would lose a trap game in Foxborough with what the Steelers are currently?
Yeah. I mean, it changes my mind. It removes the element of a trap game, but it doesn't remove the element of a potential loss happening in week 3, because it's just, it's not some great start that the Steelers are off to that could come tumbling down, by not playing up to standards against an inferior opponent. This is just a team that's kind of, scrambling and potentially circling the drain if things keep getting worse. And they're going up against a team who has had, very mixed results through 2 weeks, but is a team that has, again, I mentioned before, like found some ways to insulate their young quarterback and to find some success in his second year in the league. So it's just a matchup that could give the Steelers trouble. It's not a trap game, but it is a game that they could, lose theoretically. And I would not be shocked to see them lose.
No, me neither. Me neither. I think New England does not look great. There are a lot of holes. I think Mike Vrabel's the type of guy that like would get you so fired up that Pittsburgh's coming to town that you have an opportunity to put this one in a place that's very scary. Toss Salad's got one. My bold prediction is whoever is kick/punt returning will have a return for a touchdown. Then the next time we are on offense, they will score a touchdown, passing or rushing. But just too many hurt at practice makes this even more specific. Bold prediction: Roman or Scotty Miller gets a return tutty. Do you see?
Wow.
First off, do you see Roman and Scotty filling that role? I don't think they've made that decision yet. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be Roman. That's gonna be my guess, and that's just a guess. This is not a report or anything. I mean, bold prediction. I'm opening the floor to you. Tutty, more specifically, tutty by Roman or Scotty.
I mean, no, I won't join you there in that, but I think it will probably be Roman. I'm excited to see tomorrow how that works out. We'll hopefully have some fun information to report back afterwards. I think it should be Roman.
Yeah.
And I think it would be great to see him get that confidence and to have a big splash play to beat, like, when is this big explosion going to happen from Roman Wilson? We're all dying for it to happen in one way or another. Putting him back there on the kick return, or the punt, whatever it is, having him go for a score would be epic. I won't make that same bold prediction, but I would love, and I'm rooting for that to happen. And I'm right there with you. If you heard of practice, just please bring it to the house, Roman. I'll buy a jersey if Roman Wilson returns a kick for a touchdown. That's no lie. Someone could hold me to it. My wife will be
Jacob
so
behind
mad, but I'll do it.
whatever, man. We all buy things. I walked outside of my house today. First off, I'm with the. I hope it's Roman. I would love it to be Roman. Off topic completely. Walked outside today. Crabgrass everywhere in my backyard. Called True Green. Pulled the trigger. Said we're doing it. Get your butts here. Get rid of my crabgrass. My wife will probably be learning this as she hears it, if she watches this at any point. So love you so much. So much. Chris, why isn't the run game working? Is it the line, the scheme, or the back's fault? Also, should we move Caleb Johnson to fullback to get experience? I'm going to start with the Caleb Johnson thing. No. I don't think again, unless I'm just totally wrong, but I don't think I am. There are certain positions you toss into the fire and you let them learn. And there are certain positions you don't do that to. And I think running back is not one that you toss into the fire and let them learn, because I think more times than not, you end up with Trent Richardsons. You end up with those guys that just lose their confidence and never come back. And I just I get it. Everybody wants to see the new flashy thing, and they think that you got to fight through this. I think with running back, that's the worst idea you could have. I think keeping him on the bench, letting him learn and let it slow down, let him watch, let him adjust to the NFL level during practice and through film, which that happens. You do make those adjustments. And then when you go out there, you're ready to go and you have some confidence. I think that works better. So I'm no on the Caleb Johnson. When it comes to the running game, I think it's everything. I don't think it's one thing. I don't think it's the offensive line. I don't think it's just the running backs. I don't think it's just the scheme. I think it's a little bit of all, and I don't think any of them are necessarily working. I just don't think there's the cohesion right now. When there's not a hole, they can't make anything happen. And when there is a hole, the running backs miss it, So I just feel like it's a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard to dissect it further than that, which is a very frustrating thing to hear and to see when you're watching the tape or watching the practice. You're like, okay, I want to see this pattern, or I want to find where the consistent issue is. So you can be like, oh, they just are going, they're losing at the point of contact, or, they shouldn't be running through the tackles in between the tackles with this player, or find some example or answer that kind of fits the bill. But it's just like Noah said, you get one play where everything goes according to plan. The scheme is great. It's a perfect match for what the defense is throwing out there. Offensive line gets a push, and Kenneth Gainwell runs right into their backs, and you're like, oh, okay. But on the next play, he found a hole where there wasn't one and made a somewhat positive play when it should have been a negative net yardage. And you're like, that is so difficult to sort of identify the true issue. It's a bit of everything. And to add on to the Caleb Johnson thing, that the fullback is not a huge part of the Steelers offense for whatever reason, and so that's one thing. The other part too is, all of every single position has its intricacies and unique parts of the game, but the fullback needs to have a vision and an understanding of how tackling schemes are going to break down and whose man is who. And one of the issues that, Noah and I have sort of voiced about Caleb Johnson is it feels like the game is super duper fast for him right now. And part of that is he's not processing the game. So I don't want my fullback out there if he doesn't understand what his exact assignment is, and then after that assignment, what he's supposed to be doing. The Seattle Seahawks use their fullback and the New York, to a perfection against the Pittsburgh Steelers, because he understood exactly what he was supposed to be doing. I don't think Caleb Johnson would understand that. And just, again, another example of throwing him out into the fire, probably setting him up for failure and then only hurting him rather than trying to help him, which I understand the intention there is to get him onto the field, have him see reps, have him build up confidence again. But
For sure.
that could just do the opposite.
I agree. Papaya salad, keeping it spicy. The Steelers are not good. I think there's growing concern there. I also think it's week 2, So there's a part of my brain that says all summer long we talked about how elite the defense looked and how bad the offense looked. And maybe now that the defense doesn't look good and the offense doesn't look good, we're in a lot of trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. There's also the side of me that just says it's week 2. Things could change. things will change. That's the one thing about this, is that this team will not look the same today in week 17 or week 18. And because of that, we don't know. So I sit with the side of optimism and just say, and side of patience, and say things could change. Things could change for sure. Will they? We'll see. But things could change for sure. Ryan, a bold prediction. Caleb Johnson redeems himself by scoring a goal line touchdown to seal the game. That's bold, Ryan. That's as bold as they come, I think, in this bold prediction. I mean, I'll let you go first on that one. Bold prediction here. What's your thoughts?
I'll counter Ryan's bold prediction with the bold prediction of my own. I don't think Caleb Johnson sees a single snap of offense in this game. Not just doesn't play on the kick return. I don't think that boy is going to play at all this week.
No, I don't either. I think it'll be a lot of Kenneth Gainwell and Jaylen Warren. And then I think if they need a rest, they'll try to put him out there on offense just to like give him that one. But I don't think he gets anything else. I think we lean much heavier on the side of not playing than playing. Chris, my biggest concern is the continued bad penalties. Yeah, I mean, the Steelers are a penalty team right now. That's on your head coach. It's always on your head coach. You penalize teams are undisciplined teams. That's just at the end of the day what they are. They're also young teams, but the Steelers are not young. So that's a concern for sure. Again, the only way you fix that is through your head coach. It's the only way. And Mike Tomlin's always been a penalized coach, which not great, but that is the issue for sure. And I agree with you. Definitely a concern here. Caden, Cole Holcomb should be getting more reps next to Peyton Wilson on obvious run situations. Wow. When I saw other letter, I thought that was going to be PQ. Peyton Wilson. Also, Aaron Rodgers made some of the greatest throws I've ever seen. I mean, yeah, Aaron Rodgers literally blew our minds like a million times during training camp. It was awesome. He still does crazy things. Cole Holcomb should be getting more reps next to Peyton Wilson here. I'll make the argument again. I kind of got blasted on Twitter for this one because I said that Peyton Wilson should not be benched. Which I don't think he should be. I don't think Peyton Wilson played as bad as everybody wants to make him out to be. I think the defensive line played a lot worse than everybody wants to make them out to be. And people are saying they're bad. I think they're worse than that. I don't think Cole played much better than either of them, to be honest with you. And to be very honest, Patrick Queen played the best by far between the three of those guys. Outside of a missed sack, that was just, you don't get juked out of your shoes by Sam Darnold. Come on, what are we doing here? But besides that, I thought Patrick Queen played the best of the three of them.
Yeah. And I would say I think Peyton Wilson is the worst run defender of the three of them. I think that's mostly just because he's like the smallest, like in terms of he's the thinnest. It's also why he's probably the most explosive athletically, but I think Cole Holcomb should probably see more run snaps alongside Patrick Queen, in my opinion. But like, I was one of the people who said, let's see more Cole Holcomb in week 2. Because I've liked what I've seen from him in practice, but there was something that wasn't very convincing about his performance when he wasn't there in week 2. And I think part of that is the fact that he hasn't played real football in 2 years. But I think also part of that is just maybe it's just, he's third on the depth chart for a particular reason beyond the fact that he hasn't played in 2 years. So I'd like to see him get more reps and see if that continues. But if that is the case, then yikes.
Potato salad, cover one isn't the answer. Wish I could tell TA that. Lots of drops last week too. Can't win with scheme and personnel failures all game. I agree. I think the most overlooked thing of the Steelers' loss in week 2 is the fact that they dropped a lot of footballs. Then their defense missed a lot. Like, everybody wants to talk like, what's wrong with both sides of the football? Wide receivers drop passes and tight ends, and the defense couldn't tackle. Like that's what it came more than anything. It was lack of execution. So I agree with this one. You're not winning with either of those things. And the Steelers are trying to overcome a lot of them, which is not going to work in your favor. When it comes to cover one, yeah, I don't think they'd listen, but I hear you. I hear you, especially like when you start there and it works great. When it doesn't, adjust. And I think the lack of adjustments has been significant. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of playing cover one when the personnel sort of dictates that. Like the issue that I think as I mentioned earlier, they 41% of the time have been in man coverage so far through 2 games. That's a lot, especially, and I think that will slightly change against Drake May in a similar way that it did against the New York Jets, because you have to sort of contain a quarterback who can escape the pocket a little bit more than you had to worry about that with Sam Darnold. But I'm all for running cover one. It works with the personnel you have. But the key there that Noah touched on there is making adjustments. Like if they're going to continue to play it, they need to disguise it better. Like, because I think so many people, I saw it first on like film watchers on TikTok, and then I saw a bunch of other people put out like basically the same exact play that the Seattle Seahawks ran, that the New York Jets ran against the Pittsburgh Steelers, playing cover one and using like crossing routes, because Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay give this like really big cushion a lot of the time, and they don't disguise it well, and they don't disguise it at all. And so the offense just sees it and they're like, oh, the play we drew up is probably going to work, because Jalen Ramsey, for all of his elite talents, cannot run 30 miles per hour because he's not a vehicle. He's a human. So like, how is he expected to cover that if there's no pass rush getting home? There's no deception at the line of scrimmage pre-snap. Like, that is what the Steelers have to do in order to make this cover one effective. If not, then they have to decrease the usage of it overall and go back to more zone coverage, because they are just going to keep getting burnt over the top otherwise.
I agree. Potato Salad's got another one here. Member for 7 months, my guy. Didn't I suggest this big, sexy Dexy trade last season? Someone get Art the second on the phone. I need to be interviewed at the least. Shout out our guy. Good old Potato Salad. Broderick Wallace. If teams run away from TJ Watt, why limit him to the outside? He's a linebacker. Stand him up and let him roam. You are speaking the truth, brother. You are speaking the truth. You want to know what the Steelers love to talk about? 3 outside linebacker sets that allow guys to roam. You want to know who never seems to be roaming in these sets? TJ Watt. Just never seems to happen. I think this season is going to do a lot in defining just what TJ Watt is remembered as later in his career, and he's got to be able to find ways to say, I'm still here and I'm still active. Otherwise, it could change real fast to TJ Watt is not effective, and he's no longer one of the best out there in the league.
That conversation, like, I'm not saying I believe that. I think he is an elite top 3 edge rusher in the NFL, but to say that, like, the discourse of like how effective is TJ Watt, if you're on social media at all, like, it's already out there. You know what I mean? Like, it's been out there. So like, it's not coming from, the picnic pack or from All Steelers talk, but like, there's certainly a lot of clamoring about, has the effectiveness of TJ Watt plateaued, decreased in some sort of way? So like, there needs to be some sort of balance to that, some balance to the force, to remind everyone of how elite he still is, and just getting a little bit creative, like Broderick suggests here, could just pay off, or at least kickstart it, and then he can get back to normal.
Yeah, I agree. Potato Salad, line of the day. He's not a vehicle. He's a human. Shout out our boy Jacob. Shout out our boy Jacob. It's a great one. It was a great line. My guy, for sure.
Thank you.
Just too many heart. Why does it seem that now that we don't have Minka, the backfield is getting horribly exploited? Did we maybe make a mistake? No. I personally, maybe I'm wrong here, but I personally don't think that the secondary looks any worse than they looked last year. I think the I think what I'm noticing that's worse is Juan Thornhill is a significant downgrade from Deshaun Elliott and Minka, which is, that's expected for sure. I think if Deshaun's out there, different conversation. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like last year the Steelers secondary looked the same. I think the pass rush this year looks significantly worse than it looked last year.
Yeah, the pass rush looks awful. The run defense wasn't great last year, isn't great this year.
No.
I mean, yeah, Juan Thornhill's a problem, unfortunately, and
Yes.
Chuck Clark, he's doing his best, and he's been probably above serviceable, to use like the most accurate description I can. But
yes.
That's not enough, especially
Barely.
when you're just not doing enough schematically and you're not doing enough to like help these guys. The one thing that Minka Fitzpatrick did maybe better than any other safety in the league was like he had this ability to anticipate things in center field. So like
Yes.
some of these crossing routes maybe get picked up or doubled in a timely manner. Maybe Minka's able to, use his anticipation to goad the quarterback away from going in that certain direction. And, Juan Thornhill and Chuck Clark just have no ability to impact the quarterback in that way. It's not demonstrably worse of a secondary, but there is this like aspect of like patrolling center field that has been completely wiped away, and I have no confidence in anymore with the current personnel they have.
I agree with that, but how much of that changes when Deshaun comes back? You know what I mean?
A lot. And Jabril Peppers has an impact on that too. It's not just about someone being, playing center field and not picking anyone up until someone comes near him. But like, if you can impact the quarterback before then, if you are able to more successfully get after the quarterback in pass rush, then you can mitigate those things from happening, or just take away the possibility by getting home. So I think Deshaun Elliott is sorely missed, especially right now. But I have lowering confidence, I guess, just in the safety group right now until he returns.
No, I agree with that, but I think that that's the like a really like that has to be emphasized in this conversation, is that like the Steelers have not gone from Minka to Deshaun Elliott. They've gone from Minka to Juan Thornhill. You know what I mean? Right. Which is like, that's a significant dip. You just went from like one of the best safeties in the league to like a third string safety on most teams. And you're not getting there. So I think that has to be taken into place. I don't think they made a mistake. I think when Deshaun comes back, which I would imagine is going to be in the next week or two, then we see, then we get a better baseline of where things are. Papaya salad. Houston, we have a problem. Our coaching staff won't adjust to the personnel. I've had enough of dividing up the labor. Need a whole new coaching staff if they can't adjust to the personnel. I feel like this conversation's been had a million times for the Steelers over the last like decade. Like it's not even a Matt Canada thing. Before that, it was a Randy Fichtner thing. Before that, it was a, you could go back to Bruce Arians and Todd Haley. That was the last time that you really were like, all right, yeah, maybe things are going okay. And even then, everybody hated both of them. So, it's tough. I will say this. I would not expect massive changes. That's never a part of this that I think's there. I also, like what happened in week 2, because week 1 looked great offensively, and then week 2 it was like, never mind, we can't draw up plays that work. We're done here. Running the football, they stunk. But I don't know, man. I wish I had a better answer for this, other than I don't think that the Steelers are going to make those changes.
No, I don't either. And I think all I can add is that I understand the frustration, and I think it's totally valid to continue voicing that frustration for sure. But beyond that, I don't have a really strong answer. I believe the coordinators, when they say things like we're, sticking to the course and we are not worried about the inconsistencies through 2 weeks. Like I believe that they believe that. Like, and I believe that they believe, I believe that they believe that if they stick to what they have been working on in this, systems they've put into place, that they will eventually work and become this like dominant football team. And maybe it will. I guess that's where the patience comes into it. But until then, we're kind of just like, that doesn't seem like that's what you're doing.
No,
It's just, so I get the frustration, and I don't think there's a clear answer. I think
for sure.
patience is like that's when patience is really, really necessary regarding the Steelers.
I agree. Just too many hurt. What would happen if you put TJ next to Cam Hayward? I don't like, that's the thing. I don't think anything. Like, I think it's you got to switch sides, but I think you have to find a way to disguise TJ. Like, that's what TJ's got. TJ's got to start roaming. It can't be a TJ's on the right side, TJ's on the left side from the moment the defensive breaks the huddle. Like, TJ's got to line up somewhere, and then he's got to disguise. That's the best thing about defense, is that, like, it has nothing to do with how you line up. It has everything to do with what you're doing before the ball's snapped. And TJ's got to be part of that. TJ's got to be able to put himself in a place where the offense cannot adjust to him before they snap the football. And then he goes from there. And I think that's a massive part of where things go wrong with the Steelers.
Yeah. And I think the problem too is they have this issue where even if they begin to disguise it better, or to effectively move TJ into different sort of like ways of using him in run defense or pass rush, whatever the situation is, like, this, every opposing offense already has the book out on the Steelers, which is that, like, he may shift around a little bit, but, like, we primarily have to worry about him attacking left of the line of scrimmage. So, like, even if you are somewhat deceptive, even if you are successful at, bringing him around, like, it doesn't really change what will likely happen and the tendencies that they fall back to until the Steelers start really, really moving TJ Watt around and disguising him on a regular basis, where you cannot go into a matchup and be like, well, we know he's going to be on the left side 97% of the time. Then until that happens, you are still as one-dimensional in terms of like how you can utilize TJ Watt. So they're just sort of, it doesn't matter if you just slap him next to Cam, because eventually they know he's going to go back on the other side.
Yeah, I definitely agree here. We got to run through a couple more here. Ham sandwich. Could you move Peppers to free safety to replace Juan? I actually anticipate that's going to happen quite a bit this week. I think Jabril Peppers is going to play a lot more than Juan Thornhill by the end of week 3. Smootest Buddhist Dexter Lawrence, say it ain't so. Potentially, which brings us to David Corso here. 2nd round pick, Benton in a 4th for Dexter Lawrence. Would you do it?
Steelers, I would do it a million times out of a million. If I was the Giants, I think I would just probably sign my firing papers after I accepted that trade.
I feel like that's gonna happen everywhere. So who cares? You know what I mean? Just do what you got to do here. A couple of bold predictions for us. Pittsburgh Hornets bold prediction: Kenny G will get the ball more than Mount Washington and Warren combined. I'm not going with it. Just cause I think Jaylen Warren here, if more than Darnell Washington, sure. Not more than Jaylen Warren. I don't believe that's going to be the case.
Yeah, Jalen's the feature back going against New England for sure, but they're going to keep Kenny G plenty involved. Don't you worry, Pittsburgh Hornets. He is going to be a big old part of this offense still. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. Enigma After Dark. Bold prediction: Jack Sawyer will surpass Nick Herbig this season. I don't know, man. I'm high on Nick Herbig. He looked so good in week 2. He was one of the only good pieces of the defense in week 2. I'm good. I like Jack Sawyer. I think he's got a good future ahead of him. Good head on his shoulders. I'm big on Nick Herbig. I'm big on Nick Herbig.
I think the outside linebacker who is most likely to be surpassed is not Nick Herbig. It's Alex Highsmith is the one who's probably have to watch a little bit, because we're getting into Corey Trice territory. Wow. Where it's like how many times and for how long can the Steelers be okay with not having one of their best players on the field?
True.
And, I know Nick Herbig was hurt to start the year as well, but you have 2 guys who are younger and showing you promise. Something to monitor down the line is all I'll say about that.
I agree. Fire Salsa. It's my anniversary today. Shout out my dog. And we're headed to Ireland in 6 days. Where are we having a pine at, man? I appreciate you. I'm gonna try to, for everybody out there, potentially set something up. I actually got a couple of texts the other day that I was like, first off, how did people get my number? And second off, I was like, I got to figure this out first. Me and the wife are going over. So, I got to make sure that everything's taken care of. I also have some business stuff that I got to take care of, over there. So gonna try but at the end of the day, dude, I'm gonna be in Ireland at a bar every single night. So you see me, come have a pint with me, my dude. Also, happy anniversary. Max Sharping suffered a season-ending injury. Yep, torn ACL. He will not be back this year. Andrus Pete. We'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, Max Sharping was not I thought it was crazy that ESPN was like covering this news, and I was just like, we're covering the fourth string center. Like,
he wasn't active the first 2 weeks. I was like,
he wasn't going to be active the third week either. That was, I was
exactly.
just like, how did we get here? How did we get here? Toss salad. Did I miss the continued call-in show, or did it not happen yet? Didn't happen yet. It's actually going to drop Saturday. Here's the thing. I'm not, any call that's still coming in will be next week's show. It's the calls that we had by the call-in show. Just because I think we had like 30 of them. So I broke them up half and half. Yeah, dude, which is awesome. I love you guys so much for this. Yeah, it like makes me so happy. But I can't it's like I can't do a 2-hour call-in show. So I broke them up in half. The second one is going to drop Saturday because, not to break the news, but to break the news, Jacob's got his first episode of his first show dropping tomorrow at roughly 12 p.m. Eastern time, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk, which will come out tomorrow. It was a pretty quickly planned thing, so we're excited for it. We'll pump it real hard next week. And then again, Saturday morning, the continued call-in show will come out. So I'm pretty pumped for that. Thank you guys so much for giving me, it's just, those are fun. So thank you. Thank you, guys. Carl, Mean Cup of Joe, Green Bean Salad, Spackler. I'm getting better at it. Bold prediction, and we'll finish off with this bad boy. 3 non-wide receivers catches touchdown on Sunday. Jalen, Darnell, and Pat.
Could see it. I can see that for sure.
I could see it as well, which would be awesome because I'm a big Pat Freiermuth guy. So I'm going to go with it. And I'm going to rock it. Although
Jalen feels like a lock.
Jalen feels like a lock for sure. For sure. And to be honest with you, I think number 2 on this list to me, Darnell Washington. Man,
he's due for something. Give him the ball.
I love it. And we'll finish it off with just too many heart. Can Jake take some of the call-ins? Maybe we'll have Jake on one of the call-in shows. That would be a good time. We'll see if the schedules work out for sure. We appreciate the ideas. We love them so much. All right, guys. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, we will be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg.